YouTube? I am Dom Knight. This is Night Talks. We are back with another reaction for you. Guys, slap that like button, hit the subscribe button. Help me hit 2,000 subs by the spring. Got that crap out the way. Let's get into it. Today we bringing is complicated back. They got something new for us, and we gotta cover it. So today's video is called The Exception. Okay, I ain't seen it. I don't know what this is about, so we're just gonna get right into it.
What is the definition of common sense?
Wow, I knew it was gonna be like crazy. Free. Oh shit.
Definition of I would say probably just knowing what to do, when to do it, in the right place at the right time.
Is common sense common?
No.
Good question, actually. Common sense. I think just normal logic.
Things that are known by most people. It may be an idea. It might be a social norm. It might be things that you gain through life experience as an adult.
Like if you know right from wrong, kind of.
Is common sense common?
It should be, but it's not.
If not, why do we still call it common sense?
That's a good question. Well, what else would we call it? What would be another word for common sense?
Wisdom?
Wisdom, knowledge, but we call it that either way, both ways.
Do you believe that feelings are more important than facts?
I do not. Feelings are real and they should be acknowledged, but they shouldn't be disregarded when there are facts presented.
Do you believe that feelings are more important than facts?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
No.
You could be
No.
upset by a fact, but that doesn't
But,
mean that the
yeah.
fact's wrong. So
Exactly.
I think facts matter over feelings.
Feelings are
Facts.
validated, but they're not like overruled by facts.
So facts, more facts, yeah.
No.
Yeah, no,
I
we agree.
Facts.
How do you know the difference between what you feel and what you know?
These are
Well,
hard.
because you know stuff that's factual, and you feel stuff that's obviously not factual. Facts are just made up of people's words, and words are made up by humans, and everything's fake.
That's not.
How
no,
can you tell the difference
no,
between what you
no.
feel and what you know?
Following your gut.
How can you tell the difference between what you feel and what you know?
Ooh, that's a really hard question. I would say that if you can't directly state it without saying I think or I believe, then that's more of a feeling.
Feelings
That's a good point.
are like waves. They come and go, and they're not always the exact same. Like I can feel one way in one moment because I smelled something that's nostalgic, and I can feel another way in a different moment. But what I know is like substantial, it's objective, it's factual, it's data,
What does it mean to make generalizations?
To assume about a group of people, a group of places, one thing is true about all of them.
How do you define or even describe something without generalizing?
I would say you have to have more facts, more information about it, and be able to specifically name. That's a very hard question. Generalize. You're going to put that in there and be like, this woman.
Don't dogs typically bark?
My dog does. Yes.
Aren't NBA players generally tall?
Yes.
Why is it so hard for people to identify patterns in the world?
Because there's so much diversity.
Every rule has an exception. Once might be a fluke, twice might be a coincidence, 3 times or more might be a pattern. So if there is one single exception, for example, no, I personally believe, in my opinion, that does not disprove the rule.
It depends, because with those patterns, there's feelings involved. So emotions and facts are kind of operating in 2 different spectrums, and sometimes they do cross, but you can say facts that go against what somebody believes and they have a hard time processing.
Are feelings more important than facts?
Ooh, I'm a middleman again. Yeah, you led me to that one, but I believe a good middle ground is feelings and facts, and be able to control your own feelings and your own emotions based on facts, but everyone's different.
NBA players are often tall. Dogs usually bark. I get that. So generalization is helpful in that, and it's something that people generally know. But at the same time, there are exceptions to these rules. The exception every rule has an exception. That's something.
Well, let me ask you this. At what point does a generalization become a stereotype?
At what point does a generalization become a stereotype? When that generalization has negative connotations and that generalization no longer matches the majority. That is what I would say.
So is it okay to make
What's a good
generalizations if it has a positive connotation?
Now that's a gray area. It's a gray area if if it's okay to make generalizations if they have positive connotations. Here's the thing. When you make generalizations, this may sound like it's ducking the question, but if you're going to make generalizations, at least acknowledge the possibility that you might be wrong.
Some people use stereotypes out of ignorance, and I guess at the point where they're serious and believe. I can say white man can't play basketball, and all black men have big feet. But if I'm just joking, it's a joke. But if I really believe in that truly in my heart, then that's ridiculous. That's ignorant.
Aren't jokes funny because they point out uncomfortable truths?
Yes.
Absolutely. I had a biology teacher once who used to say that we laugh at jokes because we're uncomfortable.
Women will often say things like, all men cheat or men only want one thing. Are women more likely to accept negative generalizations about men than they are about women?
Yes, that's very true. Yes, because there's so many negative experiences about men that it just makes it seem like every man cheats.
Well, what if a man said that all women are gold diggers?
You got me there.
Just like men are more willing to accept negative generalizations about women than they are about men. The thing is, there's another old saying, I got a million of these. Everybody is the hero of their own story. Everyone is the good guy of their own story. Whether factual or not, you do want to believe that you are the bad guy. Us versus them. Them are not us, so them must be in the wrong, for lack of better words. So a lot of it runs into confirmation bias as well. You want to believe that the side you're on is right. So you will, it's human nature in many ways. A lot of people look for things to prove, if even to themselves, that the side they're on is, for lack of better words, the winning side.
Why is it when it comes to calling out female behavior, it depends on the woman?
Because we don't take it very well.
Why is it labeled sexist to make generalizations about women but not men?
I guess that's just how it's been going on for decades.
Isn't saying that masculinity is toxic generalizing about men?
Yes.
Why is it when giving a compliment it's okay to generalize, but when giving a criticism it depends on the person?
Because criticism can be positive or negative.
Why is it labeled sexist to make generalizations about women but not men?
I feel like it'd be fair to label them both. I don't think there's really an exception to be sexist if it's men or just a woman.
Isn't saying that masculinity is toxic generalizing about men?
You're right. Yeah, that would be. Toxic masculinity would be a label that generalizes men, because masculine, you attribute that to the male gender. If there are just genders nowadays, who knows, right?
Why do people often ask about somebody's zodiac sign when meeting a potential love interest?
I think because some people like to generalize being born is how you act.
Isn't that generalizing?
Absolutely.
It's just
Do you
for
think it
fun,
gives false
man.
expectations?
Yes.
Are women more likely to believe in things like astrology and crystals than men are, and if so, why?
Yes.
I have met more women that do that, but once again, we're trying not to generalize here, but I have met more women who believe in that kind of thing, so.
Is that not generalizing to talk about zodiac signs?
It is. Absolutely, yes.
Do you think it gives false expectations?
Yes.
Are women more likely to believe in things like astrology and crystals than men are, and if so, why?
Yes. Because they're more open-minded, I would say. Like, they don't believe, like, men usually don't believe in bullshit. They want the facts. I know that now I'm generalizing, right? But it's true.
Is that not generalizing?
Oh, 100% it is. 100%. How can you say that some person won't be compatible with me just because they were born on a certain day when certain constellations are in the sky? 0 sense. It makes 0 sense. Once again, lack of logic, lack of accountability. It's ridiculous.
Do you believe that it's okay to generalize about men and women?
Definitely not.
Is generalizing always wrong?
No.
Yes.
No.
Why are there countless best-selling books like Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus if generalizing is always wrong?
Because people like that kind of stuff. They like to just believe that what they think is true and everybody else believes it.
Why are there several best-selling books like Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus if generalizing is wrong? Because life is complicated. The truth is complicated.
My channel is complicated.
Your channel is complicated. I always say, I can do complicated just fine. It's the easy stuff I have trouble with. The thing is, life is complicated. The truth is complicated. Life is very rarely black and white. Black and white is simple, but reality is often more in shades of gray. So
Thanks.
people often want to seek black and white answers to more easily explain and describe things that often may just be beyond man's realm of understanding.
Women will often say things
Wow.
like, all men cheat or men only want one thing. Are women more likely to accept negative generalizations about men than they are about women?
I think yes, because I have heard that phrase many times before. So I think that generalization of the other sex is very common.
So why is it labeled sexist to make generalizations about women but not men?
Oh, it should be sexist all around the board.
Isn't saying that masculinity is toxic generalizing about men?
Absolutely.
That's one of the statements that I hate so much. Like, it's such a generalization on men. It's like, if you say women are toxic, there's something wrong with that. But if you say men are toxic, it's like, oh yeah, girl, like my ex was blah, 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 blah. It's so wrong because men are not. There are so many good men in this world, and to say that men are toxic is just, to say a whole demographic, a whole population is toxic, it's not logical in any sense whatsoever.
What is the definition of anecdotal?
What is the definition of anecdotal evidence? Evidence you have gotten by observing.
Is it a valid argument to say, I'm the exception, or not all of something is true when being challenged on a social trend?
Yes, I would say that that's a common phrase to say, but I don't know that necessarily like, oh, I'm the exception. Well, a lot of people are the exception.
Does the exception disprove the rule?
Yes,
No.
absolutely.
No,
it
it
disproves
does
the
not.
generalization.
Well, just because there are some women who will date a short guy, does that mean that most women don't have a preference for height?
No.
So wouldn't that mean that the exception doesn't disprove the rule?
Hold up. Got her. Checkmate. When it comes to this topic of disprove, does that disprove a rule? Does an exception disprove a rule? No, it does not. Okay. Just because there's a 300-pound guy who can jump on a basketball court and be extremely athletic and put some points on the board, that does not mean every 300-pound guy is going to jump on a basketball court and put up some points on the board. The reason I use examples is I played basketball with a 300-pound guy who blew me away at how talented he was. The only person that size I've ever played with that skill level. No. Okay? No. Exceptions does not make the rule untrue. Okay? There is exceptions to everything. There's always an outlier. There's always going to be something, someone, anything in a given situation that can be off, that can be different, that can go against the norm. But that doesn't make the norm not the norm. Okay. And he used a really good example with height. Yes, just because there are women who will date a short guy, that doesn't mean that most women don't have a height preference. Most women, if they had the choice, will pick someone with a little bit more height, okay? Just because there may be a few women who may even prefer short guys does not make the rule not the rule. That's just one little exception, all right? So I think he got it real good with that one, but yes, guys, exceptions don't make the rule not the rule, all right? Let's continue.
These are very thought-provoking questions.
Yeah, I bet they are.
I think that, yes, now that we've circled back, yes.
Small piece of anecdotal evidence opposed to actual facts and data. So I think if there's like something small that they're like, oh, what about this? But it's like, hey, that's a very, very small percentage of what the general, the truth is. So I think that people, if they have an agenda, they're going to want to identify with the piece that goes along with their agenda.
If you have anecdotal evidence, that is one thing, but that anecdotal evidence must be backed up. That's why we have the scientific method. That's why we have peer review. That is why we have the constant presentation of evidence. Anecdotal evidence does have its use, but it is severely weakened, in my opinion, without true, hard, irrefutable, concrete evidence.
If all women are so different, why do we have the expression know how to treat a woman? Wouldn't that imply there's a universal nature that all women exhibit?
It's going to depend on the society and what the society norms are, right? So like cultural relativism, you're not going to use what American women are like and go to India and treat them the same and think you're the best, you know what I mean? So I think it depends on the culture and the society and who the women are, you know? But I mean, a universal truth, it's not good to just punch a woman, so I guess that's a good stereotype to not hit them, you know?
Is there a difference between my truth and the truth?
There's an old saying, when you tell a story, there are three versions of the story: your story, my story, and the truth. And hence the phrase, the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. And that's something I usually believe as well. So here's the thing. Your truth could possibly be the same as the truth. However, often with personal biases and whatnot, things might get distorted. It's quite possible. So again, that goes into what I say. If you know something, there could always be the possibility that you are wrong. I try and acknowledge that whenever that I can, but I'm not perfect.
Isn't my truth your subjective perception of the world, and the truth is an objectifiably verifiable description of a situation?
Ideally, that is how it should be. My truth is subjective because, again, it may be subject to my own personal biases. And the truth is objective. It is fact, it is concrete, it is proven, it's there, it's observable, it's provable, and when you need to find evidence for it, it should be very easy to find.
All right, y'all, we gonna cut that there. I'm gonna have the video linked in the description if you want to finish it. Hey, this was a pretty good conversation. It was a little bit different. I didn't watch this. I had no clue what he was going to be talking about. But you know, in some of these conversations and talking about generalizing and exceptions to the rules and things like that, I think these are very important conversations to have, and not even just in the dating world, just in life, just in society, just from people to people interactions every day. Generalizing isn't always good. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes generalizing isn't a negative thing. But there is a fine line when generalizing can become a stereotype. And like a lot of people in here were saying, stereotypes, me personally, I don't necessarily think stereotypes are the worst thing in the world. There's positive stereotypes and there's negative stereotypes. Like a positive stereotype, all Asians are good at math. Are they all good at math? No, but it's a stereotype that a lot of people do believe in. It's a positive one. I wish I was good at math. I suck at it. But you know, and then there's, negative stereotypes. Black people are lazy. Is that true? No. I'm grinding all the time. Come on. So, yes, I think there is a line where generalizing and stereotyping definitely can blur and they can become dangerous or unhealthy. As far as exceptions to the rule goes, rules are rules, okay? And we're not talking about concrete rules, don't run in the hallways. No, we're talking about general things that people know about life, okay? When, like he was saying, certain things about rules in dating. I mean, like there's always exceptions to the rule. Like he said, okay, are most NBA players tall? Yes. But Spud Webb was in the NBA at one point, There's guys who are in the NBA 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". People look at Steph Curry, they're like, oh, Steph Curry's short. Steph Curry isn't short. He's like 6'3". But compared to his peers on the court, he looks short. But that doesn't mean he can't go out there and ball up. He's an exception to the rule. So, but that doesn't mean that most of the dudes on the court ain't 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". So there's the rules are the rules. There's always an exception, but that doesn't change the rule. Okay. The only way the rule can change is when the minority becomes the majority. Then we got to change in the rules. But until that happens, that rule is the same. Thought this was an interesting video. It was a little different than some of his other videos he drops, but I also thought it was very good. He has very good questions as always. Guys, I am Dom Knight. This is Knight Talks. Fun as usual. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content. Help me hit my goal of 2,000 subs by the spring. I will toss my social medias right there. Follow me on TikTok only if you want to. And I will be back soon.
Rack it up, I got a bit of the bank to make me a safe house. Shake shake it up. She got her hands on her knees and she bringing the cake out. Smoke it up, I got some gas, some packs, I'm up in the greenhouse. Ball it up, I'm with the gang, we taking shots off the rebound.